Syria's Ahmad al Sharaa and the UN's Francesca Albanese, the US's wild moves. Welcome to Roh'sCorner, the podcast that dives into the wild, weird, and downright shocking twists in world politics. I'm your host, Roh, and today, we're unpacking two jaw-dropping moves by the United States that have the world buzzing. Picture this: the US just lifted a terrorist label from Syria's new leader, a guy once tied to al-Qaeda, while slapping sanctions on a UN human rights investigator for daring to call out Israel and American companies. Absurd? You bet! Let's dive into these geopolitical shockwaves and figure out what's going on. Buckle up, this is gonna be a wild ride. First up, let's talk Syria. It's July 2025, and the world's still reeling from the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime in December 2024. After a brutal 13-year civil war, Syria's got a new interim president, Ahmad al Sharaa, the guy who led the insurgent group Hanot Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS. Now, here's the kicker: HTS was designated a terrorist organization by the US since 2018 because of its roots in al-Qaeda's Nusra Front. Yeah, that al-Qaeda, the one behind some of the worst terrorist attacks in history. So why, you ask, did the US suddenly decide on July 7, 2025, to scrub that terrorist label off al-Sharaa and his group? It's like inviting the wolf to dinner and calling it a puppy. Let's break it down. Al-Sharaa has been busy since toppling Assad. He's not just sitting in Damascus twirling a villain mustache. He dissolved HTS, folded its fighters into Syria's official military, and started talking a big game about inclusive governance. No more jihadist vibes, he's promising to fight terrorism, keep ISIS at bay, and even normalize ties with Israel. Sounds like a glow-up, right? The US, under President Trump, saw this as a golden ticket. They're thinking, here's a guy who can stabilize Syria, kick out Iran and Russia's influence, and maybe, just maybe, keep the region from imploding. But hold up. This isn't just about Syria playing nice. It's geopolitics on steroids. Iran and Russia were Assad's biggest backers, and with him gone, their grip on Syria's crumbling. Iran's so-called axis of resistance is wobbling, and Russia's packing up its military bases faster than you can say Cold War comeback. The US smells opportunity. By lifting sanctions and the terrorist tag, they're opening the door for foreign investment, reconstruction, and a Syria that might lean toward American interests. Plus, allies like Saudi Arabia and Turkey, who backed al-Sharaa's insurgency, are cheering this on. It's a power play to reshape the Middle East. Now, let's talk about the flip side. Not everyone's buying al-Sharaa's makeover. Critics are screaming, this guy was al-Qaeda. You don't just erase that. Reports are trickling in about HTS's dark side, executions of Alawites, human rights abuses, you name it. Some say the US is rolling the dice on a former extremist, risking chaos if he reverts to his old ways. But the Trump administration's betting on pragmatism over principle. They're thinking stability now, questions later. It's like hiring a fox to guard the henhouse because he promises to go vegan. Shocking? Absolutely. Absurd? You tell me. Now, if that wasn't wild enough, let's pivot to the second bombshell, the US sanctioning a UN official. Yes, you heard that right. On July 9, 2025, the US dropped sanctions on Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. This isn't some rogue diplomat, it's a UN expert tasked with investigating human rights. So why's the US coming for her? Buckle up, because this one's a doozy. Albanese has been a thorn in the side of both the US and Israel. Her latest report, dropped in July 2025, is called From Economy of Occupation to Economy of Genocide. OF, that title alone is like throwing a Molotov cocktail into a diplomatic meeting. In it, she names over 60 companies, big names like Google, Amazon, Lockheed Martin, accusing them of profiting from Israel's actions in Gaza, which she calls genocide. She's pushing for ICC investigations, not just into Israeli officials like Benjamin Netanyahu, but also into American companies she says are complicit. The US does not play nice with the ICC, it's not even a member of the court's Rome Statute. So when Albanese started waving the ICC flag, the Trump administration, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, hit back hard. Rubio called her actions political and economic warfare against the US and Israel. They dug up her past statements, like when she contextualized Hamas's October 7, 2023, attacks as a reaction to Israeli oppression. Oh, and there was that 2022 comment about a Jewish lobbyo controlling US policy. She retracted it, but the damage was done. The US labeled her anti-Semitic, accused her of supporting terrorism, and slapped sanctions on her under a Trump executive order. What do these sanctions do? Probably freeze any US assets she has and ban her from traveling to the States, though the details are murky. Imagine that, a UN official, sanctioned like she's a rogue dictator. The timing's no coincidence. These sanctions dropped right as Netanyahu visited the US, signaling a tight US-Israel alliance. Compare that to the Syria move, where the US lifted sanctions on al Sharaa at Israel's urging to stabilize the region. It's like the US is playing a high-stakes chess game, cozying up to a former jihadist while throwing shade at a UN investigator. Critics are losing it, calling this an attack on free speech and international law. UN officials and human rights groups say it's a dangerous precedent, sanctioning someone for doing their job. That's next level. But supporters argue Albanese crossed a line, weaponizing her role to target US and Israeli interests. So, what's the big picture here? These moves are a masterclass in geopolitical acrobatics. The US is juggling multiple agendas, stabilizing Syria, countering Iran and Russia, protecting Israel, and flexing its muscle against international bodies like the ICC. But let's be real, it's messy. De-terrorizing a former al-Qaeda guy raises eyebrows. Sanctioning a UN official screams hypocrisy when you're shaking hands with a rebel-turned-president. It's like the US is rewriting the rulebook on who's a friend and who's a foe, and the world's left scratching its head. Why does this matter? Because these aren't just headlines, they're shaping the future. A stable Syria could redraw the Middle East's power map, but betting on al Sharaa is a gamble. Sanctioning Albanese might silence one critic but risks alienating the UN and human rights advocates. The ripple effects could hit everything from global trade to counterterrorism to how we define justice. And let's not forget the optics. The US is saying it's cool to rehab a former extremist but not okay for a UN official to call out alleged war crimes. That's the kind of double standard that fuels conspiracy theories and social media posts for days. So, where do we go from here? The US is walking a tightrope. If al Sharaa keeps his promises, Syria might just become a rare win in a region known for chaos. But if he slips, the US could be left with egg on its face. As for Albanese, her sanctions might quiet her for now, but they've made her a martyr for some, amplifying her message. The world's watching, and these absurd situations are a reminder that geopolitics is never black and white, it's a gray, messy, shocking mess. That's it for today's Roh's Corner. If your jaw's on the floor like mine, hit that subscribe button, share this episode, and let's keep unpacking the wild world of global politics together. Got thoughts on these US moves? Drop a comment, I'm dying to hear what you think. Until next time, keep your eyes on the headlines and your mind open to the absurd. This is Roh, signing off.